Welcome to Steve 87th, Puget Sound and Pacific Railroad.
Hi everyone, this is Steve 87th PSAP Railroad, or Puget Sound and Pacific. This is my channel, and I just wanted to invite you guys to come along and watch as I build my railroad, build up some kits, do some kit bashing, and running trains like the one behind me. So if this is what you guys like to watch, stick around for a while and see if you like the channel. Hey everyone, Steve 87th here with just a real quick update on the crane build, which is not going the way that I wanted to. Okay, so let's see what's happening. Okay, we're going to try to do a couple of little things here on at least setting up. This is going to take a little bit longer than I thought because I thought I had decals that I could put on this, but unfortunately I don't have any black letters, so I'm going to have to order some black letters. But the other thing is we got the little tiny lights. That I need to see if they're going to actually fit or work to what I want them to do. Okay, so this one, yeah, you see how large these are? So they're not going to work for what I want them to do. They're meant to be lights for the trains, but those are just way too big. Even as a flasher up top, it's not going to work. So it looks like I'm going to put this on hold for a little bit and have to go order some nanos, which are going to be a lot smaller than this. Because my problem is, let me show you some of the things that I got to do. So we want to put a light here. We want to put two red lights here, one in each one of these little holes. We might have to drill those holes out a little bit more. And then we've got these two spotlights, so we want to put spotlights there. I'm probably going to put in a very dim kind of bulb in here to show that this is working. And then I think we're going to put an operator in there. So what I'm hoping to do is one of these lights I'll use for when it's going forward. The other one I'll put it on when it's working. I don't want to be able to string up the crane right now, and I'll show you why. So here's a crane that I've done in the past. It's a little dirty. It needs some wicking on it. But in order for me to make all of this work, right, you can see here that in one spot it's tied off. There's another spot here where it actually goes inside. You can actually, if you use a screwdriver, let me see if I can do this. Let me grab my screwdrivers real quick. You can actually move this up and down and in different areas. So the one that we currently have on actually does the same thing. The Walters one will actually work up and down, and it will actually raise and lower the beam, right? So when you get all of those things working together, there's an awful lot of things that happen, right? So if we look at this, right, if I turn it one way, the bucket's increasing in height. Turn it the other way, the bucket's lowering down. Okay, there's also another, I believe, where is it at? There's supposed to be another one. There it is. Right, once you put this on, hold on a second. Take it out of camera so I can actually see what I'm doing. Yeah. This will actually raise and lower the boom as soon as it gets onto the right thing. But the point is when you have a crane, you don't want to get all of your cables on and then have to move them, because it's a big pain to move all of these cables once you get them all situated and set up. So to have these done and then have to try to do any type of decaling and things like that, where I've got to take this and move it around and then try to get the DCC in there and all that, it's going to be really kind of tough. So we're not going to do that. So we're going to be on a little bit of hold. I'm going to see if I can do anything with the DCC decoder. I might just have to plan it out. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit on hold until I get some more pieces. Well, so looking this over, the nice thing is this is how small the Digitrax controller is. It's going to be for that. You can see here it already comes with a pin. That's not going to be any good for me. I'm going to have to cut that off because none of the pins are going to work. But I've got several places I can put this. I can put this along this side here, and that's going to clear it with no problem. I can put it over on this side. That's going to clear it without any problem. I can actually even put it in the cab here to connect it in. Or we put it into the cab on this side probably to connect it down. We'll just put that in there with some tape, some Kapton tape or something to keep it. But that'll kind of keep it isolated. Now my biggest problem is these wires, right? So one goes to one side of the motor, one goes to the other side of the motor. In a way, until you figure out which one is front, which one's rear, it doesn't really matter how it goes. The biggest thing is that this actually turns, which causes some wire problems. So we're going to have to get rid of those wires and put in new ones. And of course, the best way to do that is with using the right colors that they want you to use on the motors. Okay, now the problem is, because both of those wires are black, I don't have a positive or a negative if we look at the instructions on how we want to wire this, right? So we've got a black wire that comes from one set of wheels, and the red wire comes from the other set of wheels, okay? So we can put those on there because you can see here, those wires kind of broke off as well. It's just not a very good system to get the wires in and out of there. So we can probably put in longer wires to make the turns a little bit better. Plus this one wire, it's kind of really weird. You can see here, possibly, it's stuck underneath the gearing. So that's not going to be good because you can really rip that to pieces. So we're going to take one off of this side, one off of that side. But these actually come off of the wiring diagram. So that's the light. So here's the motor. So you have a positive motor, which is orange, and the gray goes to the negative. So we got a black and a red coming up from the bottom, and we've got a gray and an orange coming off the other side. So let me go see if I can get my wires, and I will go ahead and try to get these wires figured out. Okay. Okay, so first things first. We have our multi-stranded wrapping wire. This is 24 gauge wire that has all the colors of the rainbow. First thing I did was cut a nice sized chunk of it so that I can make it go where I want it to. Now, right now I'm gonna disassemble them all because I don't need them all right now. I'm gonna need them a little bit later. But right now I do need a black wire and a red wire. So there's my black and there's my red. Those two are supposed to be attached to here on the positive and negative sides. That's just me cleaning up the tip of my soldering iron. But first thing we want to do is clean the crap up that we've already got there, right? So let's clean some of that up. Get my wires out of here, out of the way. This is a wicker. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't, but I like to try to clean out all the big stuff that I've already got there. So let's see if we can do that. I also have a solder sucker here, so maybe we can get some of this solder out. Okay, and it just simply does that. Now, that did a pretty good job, almost, of getting everything out. It's still nicely tinned. However, there's one thing that we did do. We got it onto the wheel. which is something we don't want. Okay, got that solder off. Let's see if we can get it off of the wheel. I did clean these wheels up already once. I'm gonna go ahead and reposition this, get this spring out a little bit more. Hopefully it'll contact the wheel a little bit better. So now just remember, one of these is going to be red, one of them is going to be green. It doesn't really, I mean, one of them is going to be red, one of them is going to be black. It doesn't really matter which one. So we got to do the same thing on this side. Get our little solder sucker out, get it ready. Okay. Let's try that again, see if we can't get. Okay, looks like it got the wire. So those aren't too bad. They're actually cleaned fairly well. But I got that big excess amount of wire out of there. Okay, so now we come to our first two wires. I'm going to strip them. These are a little bit smaller than the wires that are there. I think they're a little bit better. They're going to be a little bit more flexible. So we got some 24 gauge wire strippers here. And that's too small, so we got to go old school because 24 is too small. Oops. That's the bad thing about these tiny wires. They break really easily. So I want to get just enough to pull the shielding off. Come on, just enough. There we go. Got that one. Let's come over here. Whoops. Too much pressure and you cut it. Not enough pressure and it doesn't go anywhere. Okay, just missed that one. Just a little bit more. Okay, so there we go. We got two of these. Now these, unfortunately, are solid. But one of the things we're going to do, because of where they're going to go at, I'm actually going to roll these around so that they have a little bit more contact surface for where it's going to go at. Now, I'm not saying I'm the best solderer in the world. All I can say is that I do have a lot of patience, which to me is really what there is about soldering, is just patience. Okay, crush that up a bit, make for a better connection. The same here. Okay. I hope you guys can see what I'm doing. Alrighty. So one of these will be black, one of them will be blue. I mean, one of them will be red, one of them will be black. Got some nice new solder here. As everybody says, get a little flux on your area. Got my little solder flux. Usually better for when you're doing things like tracks and things like that. This probably not so much, but we do have to worry about this. Okay, a little flux here. A little flux on the black one. Okay. black one first. Get a little solder out. Now I haven't quite figured out how I'm going to connect the wires all together, but I guess we'll come to that bridge when we get there. So what I'm going to do is put a little solder on the tip. That way we can transfer it here. That's on there, it looks like. I don't like where it's at. I've got to move it a little bit more. This is where we say patience takes a lot here. Okay. Nice clean solder joint there. Okay, I'll leave that hanging out there. So that's the black one. Now let's go over to the red one. Don't worry about the little white piece that came off over there. Okay, same thing, little solder on the tip. It's nice to have the ball on the tip rather than anywhere else. This is where the patience comes in. Good thing about this is I've got passenger cars that I got to do, so it's kind of a good practice for me to figure out how to get things on so that I can make the passenger cars work. Okay, so those are pretty well tightened in there. That seems like a pretty good connection. How do you know you have a good soldering connection here, right? Big thing. You want to make sure your solder's shiny. That looks like it's pretty shiny. This one looks pretty shiny too. So we got those done. Now the funny thing is the way that these come through. They come through this little hole here, which is underneath this. So we're going to take that off so that we can get into the little holes again. And this comes off fairly easily. The biggest things you got to worry about is all of the gears popping out. So this just comes off fairly simply. Already went through and cleaned all that. So you see now you've got these wires come through with a positive side and a negative side. And that wire's in pretty bad shape, actually. We're going to take this wire and do the same. Now, hindsight, of course, is always 20/20, but I should have probably threaded the wire through first and then added it to the actual wheel sets. So I get this wire out so we can see it. So first thing to do, check which wheel set's going to go where. We want to try to put the wire side as close to the center as possible. So that means that the black wire is going to go on this side. And it's a nice little hole to put it through. Now the question is, does it work right? Because it's got to go at an angle to get it in there. So we may have done it wrong, and I may have to unsolder these and resolder them. Or we take a predisposed piece of wire that we can actually see that's laying around. So the bad thing about these little guys is that they are stranded. So when you only need one, it's a lot tougher to get just one out. So let me see if I can make this actually feed through, or if I have to disassemble this some more. If I have to disassemble it a lot more, I'm going to turn this off and do the disassembly. Because frankly, I don't know how I'm supposed to disassemble this. Okay. The funny thing is I can see right through the hole. I just can't get there from here. Let's see if I move this so I can get to it a little bit better. Okay, we're going to stop and I'm going to try to get these threaded through. All right, had to go with the mobile cam here. So let me show you what happened. While I was away, my wife came in and had to bother me about something that was not related right now. But basically, see the little divot that goes on top of there? I wound up having to cut that out, bring the wire through, bend the wire, and then glue that on. I already did that on the other side. This has got to stay in place while the glue dries. While I was waiting, I decided to go ahead and attach. This is supposed to be a gray wire, but I don't have gray, so purple's going to go for it. And then on the other side is the orange wire, which is the wire that's supposed to go to the motor. So now the way that this is set up, red wire goes into the controller, orange wire comes out of the DCC controller to the motor. And then on the other side we have the same thing. Black goes into the DCC at the black, and then we'll hook up with the purple, which is actually the gray on the decoder. Okay, so I haven't quite figured out where I'm going to put the decoder yet, or how I'm going to match these two wires together, but that's one of the next things that I have to do. I'm almost wondering if I could get a mini control panel and just plug everything in on one side and then not have to worry about it. But I have to wait till this dries before I can do anything with it, because it's able to put the wires out of the way. And the other thing that I had to do while you guys were gone, while I was gone, when I first soldered up the wheels, I had them the opposite way. Oh shoot, this one's still wrong. So this black one is wrong right now. You see how it's coming up into the middle? That's not the way it needs to go. It needs to be like this red one here. Sorry for this red one, where it is actually coming up on the side a little bit more so that it gets closer to the hole. Putting it in this way, it's going to put more undue stress on that, so I'm going to resolder that. It was too close and too tight, and too many things had to happen for me to get the soldering done on that piece. And on this one down there, you can see that we have a few little battle scars. There's a couple of battle scars there. I don't know if you can see inside there. There's a couple of battle scars. I got one or two over here, some battle scars. Very, very tight, very hard to get in there. So you guys weren't able to see what I was doing. Okay, so that's the first part of this thing being soldered, and I'm probably going to stop this for now because this is soldering, and it's tiny little wires in tiny little spaces, and so it gets frustrating very quickly. All right, we'll continue in a little bit. So that's my little update for right now. I have to wait on lights to come in. Once I get the lights in, then I'll start figuring out how I'm going to hook everything up. Got some drilling, so once those come in, we'll come back to the crane. But I just wanted to show you guys where I was at. So thanks everybody for watching. This will be the part 2 of the crane build series. I wish I could have shown you guys a little bit more of the soldering, but it was really tough. There was no way you guys would have ever seen what I was doing in there. So I hope some of the stuff that I showed you on the wheel and all that works. But anyway, thanks for watching. If you like this, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Any questions, go ahead and send me, go ahead and put it in the comments below, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed to my channel. Okay, this is Steve 87 saying thanks for watching.